Venus in Scorpio. How deep is your love? Is the personal question. What is humanity's deep love affair with war? Is the collective question. Hello, my name is Eliane Nicole. I'm your astrologer and tarot reader, and in this video I'm going to talk about Venus, the goddess of love and beauty's transit through the sign of the Scorpion, September 22nd through October 17th, 2024. But first I want to say, if you're watching this on my Instagram, I'm only going to post the first 5 minutes here. The entire video will be available on my YouTube channel, Eliane Nicole. I will put the link in my profile bio so that you can find me there at Eliane Nicole. My YouTube channel is my name. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Please hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time I post a new video. Please like, please comment, please share. These things will all help me in the algorithm, help me grow my channel, and put me in a position to continue to give these free astrological offerings. And now, without further ado, I will talk about what it means that Venus, goddess of love, is transiting Scorpio. So Venus in Scorpio is considered to be in her exile. This Scorpio is not one of the signs where Venus is the most at ease. And it's because Scorpio's natural ruler is Mars, and Mars has very different objectives and goals than Venus. Venus is about beauty and love and art and pleasure and romance, relationships, and Mars is more about, goals, desires, war, fighting, conflict, competition, these types of things. And so when Venus is in a Mars-ruled sign, there's an inherent tension. And so as she's traveling through Scorpio, September 22nd through October 17th, 2024, we on planet Earth may experience these types of tensions within Venusian topics, such as love, romance, friendships, beauty, art, justice, money, attraction. Now, planets that are in their exile or in their detriment definitely get a bad rap, but I argue that these planets these placements are also very special. They offer something very unique. They tend to be the most creative spaces because a planet not at home, or a planet that's in the opposite environment of its home, really needs to be very creative and resourceful to survive and thrive in those circumstances. Now, the archetype of Venus in Scorpio runs the gamut, and I want to talk a little bit about the personal archetypes as well as the collective archetypes. Like personally, when I think of Venus in Scorpio, I think of the femme fatale, or the dominatrix, the gangster ma, the seductress, the temptress. Those kinds of images come to mind when I think of Venus in Scorpio. The goth girl, it has to do with dark beauty or dangerous love. When I think about it in a more collective sense, I think about, female soldiers, female generals in the military. I think about humanity's love of war, how no matter what, and there's a book I would recommend that would be a great read during the Venus and Scorpio transit called A Terrible Love of War by James Hillman. And in this book, he really does a deep dive into the archetypes of Venus and Mars and how they always seem to find each other. They're always together on Earth, even though they are somehow opposing opposites. Yet they're also known as the cosmic lovers because but, you know, to stick with what Hillman is talking about, he's talking about just humanity's like inevitable, timeless love affair with war, and how no matter what, we find our ways to it. Like it's a part of the human psyche, and it's a part of the human existence no matter what. And that is one of the things that Venus and Scorpio may remind us is, you know, I don't know, it's like that Martian energy, it lives within all of us, even the most peace-loving, you know, beautiful, nature-loving people amongst us. There is that Mars archetype that lives within our psyche and within our bodies and within our world, and it's the competitor, it's the ego, it's the desires, it's the passion, it's what we want and what we're willing to do to get what we want. And you know, as much as people talk about how much, you know, they want the war to be over in, you know, the Middle East or in the Congo, as I do too, there's places within our own lives that we're warring within, you know, our neighbors, our family members, you know, like people, strangers on the street. And it's like, it's almost like we can do the work of ending the war out there by ending the war in here, or just very locally around us. And sometimes it's much easier for us to stand up against something where we can feel so virtue, you know, like we're so full of virtue and good morals by standing up against atrocities somewhere on the other side of the world, when we're not clearing up the little mini wars within our own lives or within ourselves internally. And so I hope that made sense. I kind of went off on a tangent. I'm making an effort to go back and forth between the personal and the collective in these videos, but let me know, would you rather hear more of the personal astrology or the collective astrology, or do you like when I do both? Let me know in comments, because I really want to cater these videos to more of what you guys want to see. And as always, the best is to contact me for a personal one-on-one reading. I'm going to put a link in the notes to schedule a reading with me. And what did I want to say? So Venus in Scorpio, you know, when people have Venus in Scorpio in their charts, these are often individuals who have like kind of like a very strong sex appeal. Other people are very attracted to them. They're very magnetic. You know, people, you know, they're sexy, you know. Venus and Scorpio transit in general can be a very sexy, mysterious transit. But these are also people who they want to know everything. Like if they meet a romantic figure, they want to dig into the deepest, darkest parts of the psyche. They want to know everything about that person. Like they are not for a superficial connection. They go deep, and they, you know, they want to know your deepest fears, your deepest secrets, your deepest fantasies. You know, that's the Venus and Scorpio people. And in a Venus and Scorpio transit, you know, we can tend to want to go deeper in our emotional connections with our lovers, our romantic partners, in some cases our friends, our creative collaborators. Yes, for artistic expression, Venus and Scorpio likes to explore deeper, darker themes in art. You know, like Venus and Scorpio is a psychological thriller or a detective story or a crime investigation, or, you know, topics of murder or abuse or rape. Like Venus and Scorpio, it definitely explores darker themes in art. Stylistically, in terms of what we're wearing, you know, because Venus rules fashion and style, you're going to see You know, Venus in Scorpio likes blood red and black and, you know, shit brown. But you know, that's what I'm saying. Venus in Scorpio wants the deep, dark colors and, you know, and lipstick and nails and clothes. Yeah, Venus in Scorpio is a deep chick. Venus in Scorpio is bondage and S&M and, you know, but she's just also deep, passionate love making and connecting with your lover on a deep soul level. So I'm going to talk about a few of the transits that she's making. And another thing I want to say is this Venus in Scorpio this year, because Mars is in Cancer while she's in Scorpio, she's being ruled by Mars, who's debilitated in a water sign right now. And Mars is being ruled by the moon, who's changing signs every 2.5 days. So this is a very moody Venus in Scorpio. Her moods are going to be up and down. Also, because Mars is debilitated and Venus is in exile, they're both in a tough position. So there's a sense that we are dealing with some tough emotional material in this period. And however, Venus and Mars are trine, and they will be coming up on an exact trine on October 8th. They're in a trine by sign, and the exact trine peaks October 8th, which, well, I'll get to that. I want to go transit by transit. But there's a harmonious flow of energy between Venus and Mars, Venus and her current, you know, and her ruler. But they are dealing with difficult subject matter, subject, emotional terrain around family situations, around love situations, potentially around romantic relationships with women, sisters, daughters. It could be struggling or dealing with deep issues around like finances or even health. But on October 4th, she trines Saturn in Pisces. And again, this is very emotional, but there appears to be a lot of empathy and a lot of compassion and a lot of emotional support here. There is, you know, situations that are calling for emotional maturity, strong emotional boundaries, and a high emotional intelligence. And again, there appears to be a lot of support for whatever is coming up around here. It can have to do with long-term relationships. There can be a return on long-term investments, but there's some caveat around it. There can be situations dealing with older people in our lives that are very emotional. But again, there's a lot of support and a lot of compassion and a lot of empathy here, even though we might be dealing with very difficult situations that are kind of, you know, the tests of life around, you know, relationships, spiritual beliefs, the emotional structures in our life, the spiritual structures in our lives, things of this nature. Then on October 8th, she's trine Mars in Cancer. You know, this is likely around family situations. Again, it's, you know, it can involve marriages, romantic relationships, daughters, sisters, mothers, parents, heavy emotional material. But again, we're seeing a lot of support, a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy. And in general, through this time, there is this flow going on. And there's a sense of purification happening around some very deep emotional issues. But it's not easy, but it is something that is like necessary, and it looks like it's being met and handled with a great level of emotional maturity and emotional depth and emotional intelligence. On On October 14th, Venus is squaring Uranus, and this is a surprise. Sometimes this happens, this brings infidelities, sometimes this brings surprise, like one night stands. It can be experimenting with sex, experimenting with style, and it could be, you know, meeting a stranger who you are suddenly getting into a love affair with. For those who are single, hopefully not those who are married. But on October 15th, she's trying Neptune, which is very artistic, has a lot to do with fantasy and in the imagination. It's artistic, it's romantic, it can be like sexual transcendence, eroticism, very beautiful. I mean, Venus going through Scorpio is a very sexy transit. Don't get it twisted. Even though Venus is considered in her exile in Scorpio, she is a very sexy Venus in Scorpio. But there's also a sense with Venus in Scorpio of like possessiveness and controllingness and, you know, jealousy and betrayal and kind of some of the drama around love, even though it's also very sexy. And yeah, Venus in Scorpio can be fatal attraction type of, you know, stuff. So on October 17th, she's forming the sextile with Pluto. That's her final transit before she goes into Sagittarius. And the sextile with Pluto is also, it's empowering Venus. It's very sexy. It has to do with deep emotional connection, transforming relationships in very deep and cathartic ways. It can be deep and cathartic sexual experiences. And again, I've talked a lot about the personal expressions, but I do want to say on the collective, there is this feeling of women who are warriors, or women who are warmongers, you know, and this side, you know, which isn't the normal thing that we see for women. You know, usually men are warmongers and women have more of a sensitivity towards life, because women give birth to babies, and just historically we think of that. But with Venus and Scorpio, we're seeing like women generals or women commanders in chief, women. And the solar eclipse that we're having October 2nd, which I'm going to do a whole video about, that solar eclipse is in Libra, so its ruler will be Venus in Scorpio. And the solar eclipses have been very related to the war going on in the Middle East, and I'll talk more about that in my solar eclipse video. I just wanted to stop in and talk about Venus and Scorpio transit very quickly, but I've been going already for 18 minutes, so please contact me for a personal reading. That's how astrology works best when you're working one-on-one with an astrologer. We can look at where Venus and Scorpio is transiting through your chart. We can look at where the upcoming solar eclipse is transiting in your chart and what it means within the story of eclipses that it's been a part of starting since July of 2023. And I will put a link to make an appointment with me in the notes. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a sexy Venus and Scorpio transit.